You are looking live at the Gardiner Expressway. A major winter storm is slamming much of southern Ontario tonight, including the GTA. Toronto remains under a snowfall warning. The fresh powder started falling late this afternoon and hasn't let up, making for treacherous conditions on the roads. Police urging people to stay home if possible. Good evening. I'm Kelda Yoon. From messy roads to cancelled flights, the heavy snowfall is having a big impact across the GTA. Passengers flying out of Pearson Airport tonight and tomorrow are advised to check their flight status. Go Transit will be on a special schedule tomorrow with some trips cancelled or modified. And the TDSB says it will provide an update in the morning about potential school bus delays or cancellations. Now, meanwhile, OPP have been fielding numerous calls for service across the GTA tonight. Police and emergency crews were called to Highway 407 between Airport Road and Goreway Drive in Brampton for this collision shortly after 6:30 this evening. A vehicle was traveling eastbound and lost control, spinning out of the lane. The driver then got out of the car and was struck by another vehicle. A 19-year-old man was taken to hospital by paramedics with serious injuries, but fortunately is expected to survive. The OPP are reminding people to drive according to the road and weather conditions.
We often find drivers getting into trouble on those on-ramps and off-ramps, sliding right off the road because they're going too fast around the corners, and of course, just following too close behind traffic in front of them, and they can't stop when they need to. Whatever you're doing, avoid non-essential travel. Wait for the system to pass, wait for the plows to do their work, and then go out once the roads have been plowed and the conditions are better.
The OPP are also reminding drivers, if they have to head out on the roads, to use their vehicle's full headlight system and make sure to have a full tank of gas. All right, let's go now to meteorologist Colette Kennedy, who is standing by in the Weather Center. And Colette, we are expecting this snow to keep falling into the morning. How much are we talking here when all is said and done?
Yeah, we are looking at some of our snowfall totals, especially kind of northern parts of the GTA or traveling north from there, being over that 20 centimeters. Closer to the lakeshore, they will be a little bit lower, but often because we get some mixing in there, which isn't great either when we talk about freezing rain or ice pellets being part of that mix. So I'm going to break this all down for you because there is lots to digest here. Areas in red, that's where we have the winter storm warning. So where we have the heavier snowfall totals, that makes sense. Why you're seeing it picking up again here around Hamilton and stretching back towards London has to do with snowfall totals in some cases, but also has to do with the mixing. In the case of Hamilton, that's going to be one of those areas where you're kind of right on that line. So you may get more of an extended period eventually of seeing some freezing rain or ice pellets in there. A closer look kind of gives you an idea of this stretch. And the snowfall warning does include the city of Toronto, much of the GTA there, for those snowfall totals over 15 centimeters, quite likely. Winter weather travel advisory, that in place. Messy conditions all along the north shore of Lake Erie back towards southwestern Ontario. It doesn't end there because also with some extended icing or that potential for 2 to 4 millimeters of buildup, we do have that freezing rain warning too in that same area. So some really treacherous conditions. That was great advice there. Non-essential travel, don't do it. If you don't have to be out there, you don't want to be. Current temperature showing you so much of the region in that colder air, and that's why the type of precipitation, at least for now, is snowfall. But look what's happening here. Temperature starting to come up around Chatham, Kent, right at the freezing mark. So now if I take you down to the radar and show you what's happening in that same region, you can see a little bit of pink, so a little bit of mixing occurring there. Elsewhere, a very large area now. This is pushed in pretty rapidly in eastern Ontario, even into southern Quebec. Mont Tremblant is looking at having, 30 centimeters or more of fresh snowfall before we get to, say, Friday morning. So through the day tomorrow, that's what's going to be appearing there. A closer look shows you again that area where there's that little bit of mixing. That region will be expanding. I'm freezing it here, showing you a few pockets too for the Niagara area where we're getting a bit of that mixing as the temperature profile is starting to rise. Much of the GTA, 4 a.m., it's still all snowfall. You're seeing it's more rain here into St. Catharines area. And then as I push this forward, 6 a.m., still a large area is all snowfall, but watch near the lakeshore there. That's going to start to bring the temperature up and change that over to a mix and even getting into some rain. And that's why in that area, probably will see those totals a little bit lower in that 10 to 15 centimeters, get away from the lakeshore, and then it goes to 15 centimeters upwards from there, where we're looking at potentially 25 centimeters or more towards Barrie, and lesser amounts, of course, St. Catharines. But again, keeping in mind areas where we get some icing there, like Hamilton, where you're right on that border, you could have snow, then get a layer of ice, and then some snow on the backside. So really, really have to be careful out there.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Colette.
You're welcome.
All right, and turning to some other news, all of Canada's premiers are gathered in Washington meeting with senior Trump advisors, a next step in their efforts to try to stave off a potentially devastating trade war. As Katie Simpson reports, the federal government is also busy lobbying.
Canada's premiers capping their trip to Washington, their trade mission, with some FaceTime at the White House, meeting with some senior staffers as they push Canada's anti-tariff message. That's really been the focus for Canada's premiers over the past couple of days, holding a number of meetings with American lawmakers, particularly some influential Republicans, as well as some business leaders, as they really try to work a coordinated effort to try and convince the Trump administration to steer away from imposing any tariffs on Canada. It was a similar message from Canada's finance minister and Canada's ambassador to the United States. They too held a meeting at the White House today, meeting with Howard Lutnick, who is Donald Trump's incoming Commerce Secretary.
We started the conversation by discussing our shared priorities around border security and the fight against fentanyl. We also discussed, obviously, our concern around steel and aluminum tariffs and the president's comments earlier this week. But we also agreed to continue the conversations and to be in touch over the next number of days.
One thing that Canada's ambassador to the U.S., Kirsten Hillman, really picked up on is the fact that Americans in this moment, they are aware of some of the frustrations Canadians are feeling in this moment, whether it comes to Donald Trump's comments about Canada becoming the 51st state or the overall threat to the Canadian economy.
Canadians were reacting strongly and in a unified way in the face of a lot of uncertainty coming out of Washington. And I know not just in discussions with the administration, but folks on Capitol Hill, that they have seen this, those who are paying attention to the Canada trade issue. And so my sense is that we didn't need to really, pound the table on that. We can refer to it lightly because it's well understood.
Coming out of these meetings, no one is expecting a breakthrough moment, any sort of deal to be reached. It's all about the cumulative effect of meeting after meeting after meeting, trying to influence senior officials in the White House to try and convince the president himself to reverse course. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Turning to the provincial campaign trail now, the Ontario Green Party got a leg up on its competition today, becoming the first major party to release a fully costed platform in the provincial election. Lane Harrison breaks down the details.
Doug Ford has abandoned the people of Ontario, but the Ontario Greens are ready.
Green Party leader Mike Schreiner says his team punches above their weight, and today he's proving it, becoming the first major party to release a costed platform this election.
We're going to bring generational fairness back to the housing market, so a whole generation of young people know that they can find a home that they can afford, and that seniors can downsize into a home they can afford in the community they know and love. And we will do that with a commitment to build 2 million homes over the next decade.
That's a one-up on the PC's 2022 pledge to build 1.5 million homes by 2031, a promise that's not on track to be met. Schreiner says the Greens will do it by allowing anyone to build a fourplex in the province or a sixplex in larger cities, plus allowing 11-story buildings along major transit routes, and eliminating development charges on smaller homes.
We'll address the deep unfairness in this province that over 81,000 people are experiencing homelessness by having government get back into building affordable and deeply affordable nonprofit co-op and supportive housing with a commitment to build 310,000 affordable homes in this province.
The Greens also promised to turn Ontario Place into a park, not a spa, and create a food belt, prime farmland protected from housing or road development, with the Greens planning to cancel the development of Highway 413.
And that's exactly what we need in politics. MPPs who are going to put people before politics, people before their leader, and that's how we will continue to operate at Queen's Park.
The Green leader was joined by his only other sitting MPP, Ashland Clancy, today, as well as Parry Sound Muskoka's Matt Richter, who lost to Conservative Graydon Smith by about 2,000 votes in 2022.
We're going to keep building on the momentum, and if there's something we're going to improve upon, it's just getting to those more rural areas of the rural areas to ensure everybody's getting the true facts.
The PCs say the party's plan will be released in the coming days. As far as the other opposition parties stand, the NDP has released a plan for southwestern Ontario and the Niagara region, though it doesn't include line-by-line budgeting like the Greens platform does. Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie told reporters today that her party will be releasing a fully costed platform during the election, though she didn't say exactly when. Lane Harrison, CBC News, Toronto.
A report presented to the Toronto District School Board with recommendations on addressing anti-Semitism is drawing a lot of reaction tonight. A TDSB committee heard from numerous delegates at a virtual meeting who didn't shy away from sharing their views on the strategy. Dale Manukduk has more.
The fear of critiquing the state of Israel, the fear of mentioning Palestine.
There were dozens of delegations at the TDSB's virtual planning committee meeting to give their thoughts about a community consultation report it was receiving about addressing anti-Semitism.
I am speaking up today because I deeply believe the lesson of the Holocaust is that we must defend human rights of every person, never again for anyone.
Yet many falsely claim anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. This is dangerously misguided. Anti-Semitism has always adapted to new eras.
Some of the recommendations in the report that are aimed at protecting us are in fact doing the opposite. Like I said, I'm an anti-Zionist Jew.
I drew me, my mother, and my father at a protest. And my father was holding a sign that said, "Free Palestine."
The report, which more than 35 community organizations consulted on, notes the majority of community groups express that anti-Zionism has recently reemerged as a contemporary form of anti-Semitism.
I think the report reflects the real challenges and anxieties the Jewish community has been feeling over the past 18 months, especially the students and teachers of TDSB.
Dara Solomon was one of the people consulted for the report. It says there was a recurring theme in the demonization of Israel and included examples and experiences of anti-Semitism, like being labeled racist for being a Zionist, and chants which include calls for the death of Jews. 88% of organizations consulted agreed with the report.
I'm not a sociologist. I don't run academic studies, but there seems to be something methodologically unsound in the way that this data was collected.
Both Jewish and Palestinian families within the board are concerned about the methodology and that if the 32 recommended actions are approved, it will silence and harm community members. Some of the actions include addressing the impact of geopolitical protests and providing professional learning to deepen the understanding of anti-Semitism, including modern manifestations such as anti-Zionism.
The consultation document explicitly says anti-Zionism is a modern manifestation of anti-Semitism. This is an inherently false and dangerous equation.
So this not only prevents Palestinian students and educators from sharing their lived experiences of displacement and occupation, it also undermines the fundamental principles of equity and inclusion.
No action was taken on the item as delegations ran late into the night. The meeting will restart Thursday evening. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, taking a live look now at Celebration Square in Mississauga as we head to break. The heavy snow continuing to come down. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back. Valentine's Day is just a couple days away, and a warning to those looking for love. Romance scams are on the rise in Canada, and they're more common than you might think, with sophisticated scammers swindling people out of thousands. Ali Chiasson breaks down the red flags for us.
Valentine's Day is just around the corner and love is in the air, but so are scams. And the people who are unlucky enough in love to fall for them are being swindled out of thousands of dollars, and those scammers, they're getting suave. Are people using AI? How are they duping people? How's it evolved?
AI is a particularly useful tool for them because now they can just create anybody. They can mimic anybody, they can look like anybody, they can be anybody.
Most recently, a woman in France sent $850,000 to who she thought was a down-and-out Brad Pitt.
They're just targeting people en masse to find somebody who's in a moment of vulnerability. And, we're all human and we all share the same vulnerabilities.
It's more common than you might think. In 2024, Canadians reported losing over $58.4 million to romance fraud, and it's estimated that just 5 to 10% of victims actually report it, so it's likely much higher than that. We spoke with an OPP investigator who has been cracking down on these romance scams for more than a decade. So before you accept that rose, you're going to want to listen to this.
For the most part, this is organized fraud, organized crime groups. So it's worldwide.
He has seen it all, from organized fraud rings overseas, using fake dating profiles, to celebrity scams.
I had one woman in Northern Ontario who thought she was talking with Jim Carrey and pushed over to Jim Carrey's manager that said Jim Carrey needs fuel for his jet to come up to Canada and needs cryptocurrency.
There are red flags to look out for.
It's the instant, profound love and affection. And then they'll ask you to move over to maybe WhatsApp or Signal, some sort of peer-to-peer secure encrypted communication. Another red flag is they won't be able to meet up.
Whatever you do, Detective Armit says, don't send money. And if you do,
when we look at the professional money launderers, it takes no time for them to move the money out of Canada and around the world. So the quicker you react and notify police, the quicker we can try and stop the loss.
Even amid the fraud, finding love online isn't a lost cause.
Just because romance scammers are out there, I don't want people to be disillusioned. There still are real people on the internet. The trick is to just engage with them genuinely and authentically so that you can see if you're also talking to a genuine and authentic person. And if you're not, no harm, no foul, just walk away because nothing is lost and all you have is an opportunity to try again.
Sometimes the oldest advice is the best advice. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And you know what? On Valentine's Day, there's always chocolate. Alicia Yassel, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, taking another look at our snowy city as we head to break. Colette will be back with the long-range forecast coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. And as the winter storm continues moving through the GTA, numerous flights at Pearson Airport are being impacted with delays or cancellations.
We've de-iced about 120 aircraft so far today, so it's been very busy here. Everybody's working at full force to deal with a significant snow event. Our snowplows out doing circuits in taxiways, runways, aprons to make sure that things are as clear as possible to get as many planes taking off and landing.
Travelers flying out tomorrow are advised to check the status of their flight before going to the airport. The airport says staff will continue working through the night to clear all the snow off the runways. And Colette is here, and we are looking forward to we're looking at a pretty messy morning, right? Especially those who have to go on the roads.
Yes, kind of whether we like it or not, that's what's coming our way. And so much of the system will have wrapped up by tomorrow morning, but it's what's left behind in its wake on the roadways, and also some stronger winds kind of blowing the snow around. So lots that we'll be dealing with. I'll take you through what's going on, first of all, currently with our temperatures, because we do know temperatures are key to the amount of snowfall you'll be seeing or the types of precipitation in certain areas like Chatham-Kent, the temperatures at freezing, and there's mixing occurring there. Now that temperature will be coming up in the Niagara region too, and you'll get more mixing and then a change over to some rainfall. When I say mixing, I mean snow mixing with freezing rain and with some ice pellets. So dealing mostly with the snowfall, you can see the snowfall warning for Toronto, the GTA there, and then the areas in red in a winter storm warning. And for various types of precipitation like Hamilton, you're right on that border there where you'll likely get some ice pellets and freezing rain plus snowfall accumulations there close to that 15 centimeters. Winter weather travel advisories from the Niagara area back to southwestern Ontario where 2, maybe even 4 millimeters of ice may be building up with the freezing rain and the potential for that there. So it's just starting to occur with that mixing, like I said, around Chatham-Kent. We will be seeing more of that, though, especially as we get past midnight. In terms of the snowfall rates, those increasing, too, now as we're getting closer to the midnight hour and those wee morning hours. So getting up towards that 2, 3, or potentially 4 centimeters per hour coming on down. And you can see where you get into those deeper kind of purples on my radar there. That's where we have the heavier snowfall rates at the moment. As we take this through the night, stopping this at 4 a.m., there's that change over Niagara is mostly looking at rainfall at that point. So St. Catharines, I'm speaking to you and towards Grimsby, but then take it back towards, again, bringing up Hamilton, Burlington, that region right on the line there. So that to the north, you're going to see the heavier snowfall amounts. To the south, probably be more negligible because of how much mixing will occur as that temperature comes up. There'll be mixing along the north shore of Lake Ontario too, so into the city, close to the downtown, probably seeing lower amounts, but the snowfall will be more intense and significant as we get closer to the 401 and go north from there. So that general 10 to 15 centimeters close to the lake, and get away from it, it becomes 15 to 25. And yes, locally, a few areas getting closer to 30 centimeters, and certainly into eastern Ontario and southern Quebec, there'll be areas over that 30 centimeters. So overnight temperatures, they will be coming up, even Toronto coming up to freezing, and that's why there'll be that portion of time where things change in terms of the snowfall. The wind's strong tomorrow, and with that, that's going to be pushing and blowing that snow around, reducing visibility. What am I showing you here? I just want you to know there's another system in the pipeline, and this is Saturday, Sunday. This is a whole different snowstorm, and yes, it could be an additional 10 to 20 centimeters. Still a few days off. I just wanted to give you a heads up. Deal with everything that comes down tomorrow morning. This winds down by about 8 a.m., but then there'll still be some poor road conditions. You get a breather for Valentine's Day. Thank you for that gift. And then there comes the next one, Kelda.
Yeah, and just as we're done shoveling out of this one, we're doing it again.
Yes, just enough time to rest.
A little bit, yeah. Thanks so much, Colette. And that's all the time we have tonight. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night and stay safe out there.